And then I'm actually going to do, this is going to be a video, and then I'll be able to edit it. Oops, glasses don't look old. Okay, guys, I'm here with the original builder of Cassiopeia, Rob De Matteo, and we've been going through all of the facts and figures and doing the spreadsheet yet again, and we've been looking at all the pictures of when he built Cassiopeia. Check out the way they laid up the keel. Look at the way that you started building the frames, and then you put on the planking, and then you go, and all of a sudden you've got a full-on Cassiopeia. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And so, Rob, what do you think about the idea of building 6 more Cassiopeias in order to try and have an impact on our oceans and stuff?
I think it's great. Just building the boats again is going to be fun. And I think we can do some good. There's plenty of little things that we could go around and fix one reef even. It's worth it, you know.
Yeah, because you sailed back in the 70s and everything, and so you've seen what's been going on.
Yeah. Oh man, so many dead reefs. They used to just be a beautiful coral head, and now it's a rock.
Yeah, and
or whole big rows of elkhorn coral just, you know, crumbling on the ground. It's just a shame. All the fish, the sport fish that we used to catch down off Crooked Island, in Teddy Roosevelt's favorite fishing ground, and you could never go by there and not catch something. You know, a big wahoo or just on the cliff off of the bank. You know, there's always good fishing in there.
yeah, but now it's just not that way anymore, is it?
No, you get something once in a while, but it's one of the few parts of the Bahamas that you can still do some fishing. It's just a shame. It's unbelievable.
But do you think that sailing 6 Cassiopeias around can create some awareness and help change things, maybe?
Well, I think, yeah, the awareness is what we need. Even if you only had one and you did some good filming and showed some of the problems that we have underwater.
Yeah, well, I've always dreamed of building the 6 because I think there'll be efficiency of scale, you know. And you've looked at the boatyard that we've got in Thailand now and thought about the project in that way, and so it seems like you've got some pretty good ideas about how to build 6 of them really quick and really cheap.
Yeah, well, I worked on assembly lines for a few years. Bertram Yachts and Gulf Caribbean, we built shrimp boats pretty much like an assembly line. Guys would build the keel, pass it over, guys would set up all the stations, and we just steamed our ribs in. They could put all the ribs in one day, basically, in a 74-footer.
Yeah, and we think we can do the same thing with the Cassiopeias, and you know, just build a keel and then do the frames and then do the planking, and
yeah, we don't even have to move them really. We just have them lined up as we get closer to the water. Once it's in the water, it does, as long as the deck and cabin top are done and it's not going to leak. We could have 2 or 3 fitting out for rigging, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And you think that the spreadsheet that we've worked out that has all the figures and everything all seems to be within the realms of possibility?
Yeah, I think we're being pessimistic on the price. Actually, with 6 of them, I think by the 6th or 7th boat, we're going to be half at least.
Yeah, so you think we could even come in under budget?
It'll be close, I think so, yeah. And then we get those guys trained in the whole process, and I've got some other plans for like a yacht or some other boat we could sell as maybe part of our financing or something like that.
We could leave a legacy of people who know how to build boats in Thailand, and having brought this dead boatyard that we're going to use back up into operation, it could be something that could go on and on.
Yeah, I've done it before. We went into DR, Dominican Republic, and found an old sugar. The sugar company used to use barges taking their sugar cane down the river. They changed it over to railroad, so they had a boatyard that it had a crane that could lift a tugboat up by the stern and change the propeller. Or they had all these sugar barges. They kept them in usable condition for 20 years just to keep some guys busy. One day they haul it out and caulk it, you know, paint the bottom up with tar or whatever. And there were still half a dozen of the barges that we used for a dock when we were there. But we trained up about 14 guys. We built the ferro cement boat. We refastened 2 boats and did a couple of just bottom jobs in that big marina. And when we left, there was sorry.
That's all right.
I want.
We can pause if you want. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. But anyway, it's one of those damn robocalls.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So you built Cassiopeia with your dad?
yeah, he was getting ready to buy a power boat and do some charter fishing, and I had sold my first boat and was getting ready to build a boat for myself, and I had a set of plans for about a 40-footer. And he said, well, maybe we could work together. I'd like to do some sailing again. And we pooled our money and spent some time looking for a place to build it. And came up with the new design.
And so you and him wound up finishing Cassiopeia in about a year, right?
Yeah, it took us a year.
So you and him wound up building Cassiopeia in about a year.
Yeah, we started in, I guess about the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
In '78. We went through the winter. We launched it in the spring, early summer, and by the end of the summer, we were putting the masts in. Maybe 12 or 13 months. And there were the 2 of us, and we had a helper for about half of the time. And everything is designed to be fast, to be quick, not to make extra time figuring something out. You know, it's all simple.
Yeah, so the construction technique lends itself to being able to build these boats quickly and easily.
Yeah, because that's how it was designed. I wanted it to be fast. I didn't have a lot of money to spend extra time. We had to rent a house to live in and all that.
Well, and then you sailed away on her, and it turns out that she was not only fast to build, but she was fast. What do you think about Cassiopeia's, seagoing performance?
Oh yeah, I was surprised. It was so fast you couldn't slow it down. I mean, you might take one sail down, and you wouldn't even lose any speed.
Yeah, well, I felt the same way when I was sailing her, that she was an amazing performer and a great boat to live aboard as well because of her flush decks and all those other great little design
that was
features.
All in my design, to have a comfortable live aboard.
Yeah.
And the weight, I figured what's the best size. You get a couple sailors talking, and they got their own ideas, but everybody said, oh, something around 50, 55 feet, so it's only in one good ocean wave, and with plenty of liveaboard space.
Now, I must admit that I felt that very much on Cassiopeia. I've always called her sea kindly because of the way she fits in the sea. And when she gets powered up, she drops down into the sea. She's not like one of those boats that feels like she's sitting on top of it. She's moving with it. And that has to do with both her size and her shape, I think. I mean, there's some lovely details about her shape that you built in that really make her, the way her bow goes through the water is just magic.
Well, I studied a lot of boats when I was coming up with the lines. I stole some ideas from Hirschoff and some of the real old designers, and how they came up with the curves for the underwater shape, and some of the rules they had for like the quarter beam buttock. It's a curve that's a quarter of the beam of the boat, halfway out on either side of the center line, and you have a parabola shape, and the parabola ends up in a straight line eventually. It's kind of it's like never happens, but it's like going off into infinity and coming out to a flat line. And that curve is where the water is escaping from under the boat after it pushes it aside.
With the bow, yeah.
You push it down, keep it all nice and smooth as it goes around the hull, and then you let it up and out from under the boat in that parabola shape. And you don't even leave a wake.
Well, that's why I used to always tell people Cassiopeia doesn't even leave a wake. The dinghy leaves a bigger wake when I'm towing the dinghy than the boat does.
Dinghy, that's your wake.
You got a 30-ton boat pushing through the water and it leaves no wake. I mean, that curve that you created wound up working perfectly.
Yeah, well, you get to about 8 knots and it starts to pull a little bit of a wave.
Yeah.
But if, at 8 knots, you're not going to worry about that because that already passed what would normally be the hull speed
for a boat like that,
Yeah, 49
a gaff rig schooner, doing 8 knots, and I had her at 11 knots quite a lot. Did you happen to have that happen to you as well?
We had her up around 10 quite a few times on, like when you had too much sail up and you're not really ready to take it down yet. Or you have
getting too much fun.
Sea. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You never worried about it, flipping over or anything. 30 tons of a 16-foot beam. She'd heel over quite a bit sometimes, but I never had water on the deck.
No, I never did too. I never, water in the scuppers every now and then, but not really very often. Yeah.
Down. The water come up and swirl in the porthole.
And she treated you the same way she treated me. She was so balanced. I never had to helm her. She steered herself everywhere. It was that part was really magic.
Yeah, the only time you really had to steer was like directly downwind, and it was worth it just coming off a little, like you run in a certain way so your sails stay full and get off the wind a little bit, and she would still steer herself pretty well downwind. But anything close to the wind, you could just, if you want to go straight upwind, you just get everything tight and tie it off. You could go for days.
Days and days. I know. I did it all the way from Martinique to the Virgin Islands. Just lashed her off, and she sailed all the way there, just without ever touching her once.
Yeah, we used to leave San Juan and get out into the wind and close haul, heading offshore, and then tack about midnight. Come back in the next day, and there's right in St. Thomas.
Yeah. Well, so how exciting is it for you to think about being able to build some more of her?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'd like to maybe have another one for myself if we could. Maybe if I supply the materials or whatever for the guys for one extra. By the time we build 6 of them, they're going to have a factory to build them.
7, 8, 9, 10, How many of you guys out there want to buy a Cassiopeia? We're going to have some extras.
Yeah, well, I think we could sell them. For all the stories that you tell and how well she sailed over the Pacific.
Yeah, I agree. They're amazingly viable boats, especially for what we're going to be building them for. Yeah. They're definitely worth that.
Yeah, I had the second one, and I don't think I was even a year, and I had 2 offers to buy it.
Yeah.
Some guy just come up to me and said, "Hey man, you want to sell that boat?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to sell it right now. I'll build you another one," because that's what I did. I built boats.
Yeah.
But then usually it's an impulse. He could afford it, but he wasn't going to wait 6 or 8 months for another one.
Yeah, well, that's right. He needed that one right then, right now. But
But yeah, $250,000. We could make money selling them easy.
Make money selling them at that, yeah. And that's not much money for what winds up being a 63-foot overall 30-ton gaff rig schooner that you can take 25 to 30 people out on if you want to, or you can sail all by yourself. Yeah. And that was always the beauty of her for me, was because I could say, "Hey, you want to go sailing? Yeah, you can bring some friends." And if they rocked up with 20 people, it was okay. Yeah. And if they only rocked up with 2, well, that was okay too. So.
Yeah, we used to have a standard Sunday trip, and everybody from town in San Juan would come, bring some friends, bring a cooler of beer, a bunch of sandwiches, and we had 20, 25 people almost every Sunday.
Yeah.
People I'd never met sometimes, some tourists maybe visiting somebody. If one of my friends had a little guest house, and he'd always bring some people that were visiting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm very excited about putting this together. Thanks for coming and joining me here in New Orleans and helping me. Like I said, guys, we've been doing it again. We've been crunching all these numbers, coming up with new ways of marketing the project and stuff. We've just talked to a couple of investment brokers about how to refine our presentation and do some of the things that are going to get investors really, really interested, including you guys, how we're going to put it on Kickstarter. And it's very real, and we're working on it really hard. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to really try and make this thing happen. And so, yay for Rob. Thanks, mate,
All right.
for coming and really, really getting this on its feet. And so, woohoo, guys, yay for us. Look out for the next chapter.
Yeah.